In Rust, not all bases fit in the location you want to build. Sometimes you won't have the flat ground, or you'll want to live in a discreet but advantageous position. And then sometimes you just don't want a big base. As a solo, it's all about you. Niceties aren't always important, and stripping back a base design to provide maximum storage, a sealable bunker, and raid costs high enough from all directions they'll keep your tiny base safe at night can altogether make such a big difference to your wipe progression. The pod is a 1x1x2 capsule base that covertly houses 3 tiers of loot storage, all accessible from a single spot in the base, all while fitting into the tiniest gaps and looking like a miniature 1x1. So if you want an easily deployable base, or you're a player that enjoys small bases, perhaps even multiple small bases per wipe, then the pod should be perfect for you. Let's give this tiny base a quick walkthrough. We come through an airlock and arrive at our furnace area, our drop boxes, and where our sealable bunker will be placed. We move through the half-wall gap into the core of the base. Multiple levels of shelving provide us with enough room for our TC, workbench, sleeping bag, and a comfortable amount of storage. 4 large, many small boxes, barbecues, and drop boxes. To seal the bunker, at the end of the session you would depot your kit and only take the building materials required to seal the bunker. From the airlock we can place a twig half wall that we won't upgrade and then a triangle floor piece. You'll want to upgrade this to the same material as the walls to the core. Now placed and upgraded, you should respawn back on the bag inside of the base and log off for the night. Next time you come on, simply break the half twig wall to remove the floor stability and open up the bunker. That's the run through of the pod. A tiny base packed with storage available that the enemies just won't expect you to have, and a bunker that stops opportunistic roam raiders having an easy door raid. Before we get into building this, here's a quick view of the floor plan. It really is a base that you can fit on the edge of cliffs, between or on rocks, and if the core fits, then continuing to add further honeycomb shouldn't be a problem. As mentioned earlier, the pod is absolutely a core that you should look to be building up from, but it works really well if you're just looking to have multiple small bases. Let's get into the build. We start by building the core and the bunker space together. Place a square and a triangle foundation, with 2 raised triangle foundations either side. You should also upgrade these to stone. Then work around the core placing half walls to match the height of the raised foundations. Now work backwards around the entire base placing full walls, ending up placing 2 single door frames that will be our airlock. Now before sealing the roof, we'll place 1 more layer of half walls on top. Now this is done, upgrade the entire base to stone, fill in and upgrade the roof and place your wooden doors. That's the bulk of the base built, and now we'll work to fill up the space available. For our TC, it will go in this back corner as tightly as possible. It's also important that we place our sleeping bag here right in front of the TC. How you start your boxes is up to you, but you should ultimately look to arrange the first layer like this. Using some of the metal to get this barbecue placed early will help once we've got our bunker in place. Now that our furnaces have been cooking metal for a while, we should have enough metal to now create the rest of our large boxes. We'll want to place 5 large boxes and 2 small boxes together at the very top of our base, as access to this area will become limited later. To get up to the shelf we just placed and upgraded, place another shelf here and place a furnace on this, allowing you to jump up. While jumping up, I advise placing the walls that will become our bunker, as well as the triangles above the furnace and airlock. Do this with a half wall at the bottom and a full wall on top. This will let you have extra room when placing the large boxes up top. Place your 3 large boxes like this. Then, in the space above the furnaces and the airlock, we can place a further 2 large and 2 small boxes. With all the boxes in place, we can drop back down by removing this triangle, and then we can upgrade the bunker wall to at the very least metal. Removing this half wall will show us our bunker entrance. We also want to upgrade the foundations below the airlock and the furnace space to metal. Unless you have SebK on your server, this should greatly reduce the chance of someone soft-siding the foundation to open up your bunker. Move all 3 of the furnaces to the space out here, adding a door frame and eventually a garage door too. Now that the wipe is in full swing, we'll need space for our workbenches. The shelf we previously used for the jump up will be where we place it. By crouching on the TC, we should be able to place this far to the right, allowing us space for extra boxes. With the layout and main storage in place, it's time to work around the base, upgrading it to metal when the resources allow. This includes the wall to the airlock, the roof pieces above the bunker, and any shelves inside the base. For the main core walls, these can mostly be upgraded from the inside. However, I suggest doing this just before placing your honeycomb to not expose your upgraded core for too long. In terms of honeycomb, we'll do this from the top down. The first task is getting up top. To do this, we'll use a few half walls on the side of our core to place triangles beneath us as we jump up. Obviously use a ladder if you have one. At the top, we'll place and upgrade triangles around our 1x1 core, and then we'll upgrade the roof of our core to HQM. Surround this with half walls and place a square on top to complete our roof honeycomb. Jump back down and remove the jump ups. Now you can work around the base, upgrading any parts of it that remain stone, while placing honeycomb around the core. This should be 2 walls high. That's the upgrades and honeycomb done, but just as a quick note, I do suggest getting the walls above the bunker upgraded to HQM so that the bunker can be sealed using high quality metal. This will also mean that you should be further upgrading the foundations under the airlock and the furnaces to HQM. This now leads me on to some final build recommendations. The next steps to expanding the base are completely up to you. The core itself is done and should serve you well. But if you're looking to cover up those exposed metal foundations, the next logical steps are to think about adding an entrance to the base as well as honeycombing the base further. Because of its small size, adding these to the pod really doesn't bulk out the base too much, but does dramatically increase the raid costs. With this entrance, you should also be able to find a clever way to add roof access, but if the pod is good enough for you as it is, then I would suggest doing this to provide you with that roof access. Once you've obtained the triangle ladder hatch BP, soft side out the middle triangle directly above the bunker. Remove the boxes and fill in the triangle gaps with frames and ladder hatches. You'll also want to place a triangle airlock on top, as using the stacked hatches isn't the most tactical thing. By doing this, we also gain additional space above the furnaces that will allow us to place a repair bench and small boxes. You may have also seen that I use an abundance of drop boxes. I personally recommend using 4 to 6 drop boxes in pairs on the 3 available walls. Then treat them as additional large box space. And that's a pod, a micro solo base with macro storage that's quick to deploy and simple to build upon as your wipe progresses. For upkeep, the base will cost you less than 1,000 metal and stone, and HQM able to be kept under 10 per day depending on upgrades. This is more than manageable for a solo, and honestly some days I can skip farming for an entire day with this base. The pod is definitely the smallest base I'd be comfortable living in, but if you know of any ways to get an even smaller base than this, let me know in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like, and as always a sub would go a long way too. Thanks so much for watching.